was the night of October 21st, 1995, when Emily Carter, a 21-year-old journalism student at Redwood State University, stayed late at the campus library. Finals were only a week away, and she was known for her late-night study habits. Coffee in one hand, notebooks scattered everywhere. Security cameras captured her leaving the building at 4:07 p.m., wearing a faded green jacket and carrying a backpack that looked heavier than usual. The weather was turning colder that night. A light fog was rolling in from the nearby woods, swallowing the edges of the old Highway 16, the shortcut she always took to get home. She called her roommate, Kelly, just before getting into her car, saying, "I'll be home in 20, don't lock the door." That call would be the last time anyone ever heard her voice. By morning, Emily's roommate noticed her bed untouched. Her phone sat on the nightstand, charger still plugged in. At first, Kelly thought maybe Emily had crashed at a friend's dorm, but when she didn't show up for her morning class, something completely unlike her, the panic began. By afternoon, her parents were driving down from Portland, and the police were combing through campus parking lots. The only thing they found was a coffee cup left on the library curb and a single earring near where her car had been parked. Witnesses were scarce, but one janitor swore he saw a dark pickup truck idling near the exit just after Emily drove off. That night, search teams flooded the woods along Highway 16, flashlights cutting through the fog like knives. They found faint tire tracks veering off near a curve by Miller's Creek, but no sign of an accident. No broken glass, no car parts, nothing. It was as if the road had swallowed her whole. The sheriff told reporters it looked like a simple runaway case, but those who knew Emily refused to believe it. She was close to graduating, had just landed an internship at a Portland news station, and had no reason to disappear. As days turned into weeks, theories began to swirl. A hitchhiker, an ex-boyfriend, maybe even something supernatural. But the truth was far darker than anyone imagined, and that foggy October night would mark the start of one of Oregon's most chilling mysteries. By early 1996, Emily Carter's disappearance had turned from a missing person search into a full-blown mystery that haunted the town of Redwood. Detectives sifted through hours of library footage, campus interviews, and traffic camera reels. But after 4:07 p.m., Emily simply ceased to exist. No bank activity, no phone calls, no sightings. Her 1994 blue Honda Civic became the primary focus of the investigation, but despite statewide alerts, it was never found. The case drew in reporters from across Oregon. For weeks, her photo, smiling in a graduation dress she never got to wear, was plastered on every telephone pole and gas station window. The Redwood County Sheriff's Department followed hundreds of leads, from supposed eyewitnesses to psychics who claimed Emily was in the water. Nothing led anywhere. As months passed, hope began to fade. The police reclassified the case as inactive, but her parents refused to give up. They hired a private investigator, Tom Reddick, a former state trooper known for his stubbornness. Tom spent nearly 2 years chasing fragments. A scrap of paint found near an old quarry road, an anonymous tip about a man seen cleaning out a car trunk at 2 a.m., and a handwritten letter mailed to the Carter home that read only, "Ask the janitor." When Reddick tried to trace the letter, the trail went dead. Then, just as he was about to reopen the case with new evidence, the 1998 floods hit the Redwood area, washing away much of the Quarry Road and any physical proof that might have been left behind. To the Carters, it felt like the earth itself was trying to bury the truth. Still, Emily's absence lingered over the town like a storm cloud that wouldn't pass. Her dorm room was sealed for months before the university quietly reassigned it. Students whispered stories about seeing her figure near the woods, headlights flickering at the same stretch of highway she vanished from. Her mother, Margaret, kept her daughter's room exactly as it was. Textbooks stacked on the desk, a Polaroid of her friends taped to the mirror, the porch light burning every single night. Even as new students came and went, the name Emily Carter remained carved into Redwood's memory. A ghostly reminder of a case that refused to die, and a secret the town had buried somewhere deep beneath its silence. It was a cold morning in March 2006 when Derek Hughes, a 43-year-old mechanic from Portland, attended a local storage auction just outside the city. He'd been flipping used tools and furniture for years. The kind of guy who lived for forgotten things left behind. The auction was held at an old Redwood self-storage facility, one that hadn't been updated since the late 80s. Yellowed fluorescent lights, rusted garage doors, dust thick enough to choke the air. Most of the units were filled with junk, old TVs, mattresses, broken dressers. But Unit 39 caught Derek's attention. The door was sealed shut with 2 layers of rusted chain instead of the usual padlock, and the facility manager mentioned it had been delinquent for over a decade. Nobody had paid the rent since 1996. Derek shrugged, raised his bidding paddle, and won the unit for $480. When he pried the chains off and lifted the door, a wave of stale air rolled out, cold, chemical, and suffocating. Inside was a blue car, coated in a thick blanket of dust. Its tires were flat, and cobwebs draped across the bumper like old lace. Derek stepped closer, brushing the dust from the license plate, and froze. The plate number ended in C92KZL, a sequence that, by pure chance, had been burned into Oregon's missing person bulletins years ago. The tag matched Emily Carter's car, the one that vanished with her in 1995. Derek immediately called the authorities, and within hours the place was crawling with detectives, camera crews, and a forensic team. The entire storage facility was shut down, and for the first time in 11 years, the Carter family received a phone call they'd stopped hoping for. "We found her car." The trunk of that Civic told a story the police weren't ready for. It wasn't empty, not even close. Inside lay a stack of college notebooks, a campus parking permit that expired in October 1995, and a cassette tape labeled "For Mom." A small brown envelope sat beside it, containing a single Polaroid photo of Emily standing in front of the university library, smiling. But in the background, half hidden by shadow, was the faint outline of a man. The car keys were still dangling in the ignition, and the odometer showed only 23 additional miles from the night she disappeared. Investigators dusted for prints, but the only clear set belonged to someone who had rented the unit in 1996, a man named Raymond Harlan, a former janitor at Redwood State University, who hadn't been seen since 1997. The cassette tape found in Emily Carter's trunk was old and warped, the label smeared with dust and fingerprints. It was the kind of cheap 90s voice recorder tape students used for lectures. Investigators feared the audio was too damaged to recover, but the FBI's forensic lab in Salem managed to restore most of it. What they heard was haunting. The recording began with Emily's nervous breathing, shallow, uneven, followed by her whispering, "I think he's outside again." Papers rustled, the sound of a chair scraping across a dorm room floor. She described being followed for weeks, by someone she believed was a staff member, but she never said his name. She talked about headlights outside her window, phone calls with static, and someone slipping notes under her door. Her voice cracked when she said, "He knows where I park." Then came the sound of a car door slamming, an engine starting, and Emily muttering, "I'm going to end this tonight." The tape cut off abruptly with a thud and what sounded like a muffled scream. The more investigators listened, the more the details aligned with one name: Raymond Harlan, the former janitor. He'd worked night shifts in the same building where Emily studied, and co-workers said he had an unhealthy fascination with certain students. But when police checked his personnel file, they found almost nothing: no forwarding address, no emergency contacts, not even a tax record after 1997. It was as if he'd never existed. Detectives revisited his old apartment, long since abandoned, and found a box of newspapers about Emily's disappearance hidden in a crawl space. Scribbled in the margins were words like "she knew" and "the quarry." A neighbor claimed he'd seen Harlan dragging something heavy to his truck one night in late October 1995. The same night Emily vanished, but he never reported it. Back then, people thought Emily had just run away. Now, the story was starting to unravel into something far darker. The final part of the tape sent chills through everyone who heard it. Emily's trembling voice said, "If they find this, tell my mom I didn't run." That was followed by the faint sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, and then silence. Investigators analyzed the ambient noises and concluded it wasn't recorded in her dorm room, but likely inside her car. The last 3 seconds contained a strange echo, like dripping water, possibly near a quarry or tunnel. Detectives realized Emily might have recorded the tape on the night she disappeared, moments before something or someone stopped her. The discovery reignited the case, forcing police to dig into old reports, old witnesses, and one location that kept coming up again and again: Miller's Quarry. By the summer of 2007, nearly a year after Emily Carter's car surfaced in that dusty storage unit, the Redwood County Sheriff's Department authorized one final search of Miller's Quarry, the place that had haunted this case since the beginning. The quarry sat on the edge of town, fenced off and overgrown, with signs warning of unstable ground and deep water. For years, locals said strange things happened there. Engines that wouldn't start, voices echoing from the pit long after dark. The site was dangerous. Most of it was flooded decades ago when underground pumps failed. But this time, the police brought in industrial pumps and sonar scanners, determined to see what the water had been hiding for more than a decade. Within days, the muddy water began to recede, exposing twisted metal, shattered glass, and something else: a rusted car door matching the make and model of Emily's Honda Civic. The air grew heavier around the site as everyone realized they were about to uncover what the forest had been keeping quiet. When divers went down to inspect the pit, they found a tangle of steel and debris lodged deep in the rock. Buried in the silt were fragments of fabric, bone, and broken glass, evidence that made even the most seasoned officers turn pale. A coroner on site confirmed that part of a human skeleton was entangled in the wreckage, the skull fractured, one hand still clutching what looked like a metal key ring. DNA results later confirmed what no one wanted to say aloud: the remains belonged to Emily Carter. What baffled investigators was how her car could have been submerged in the quarry and then somehow reappeared intact in a Portland storage unit years later. The serial number on the wrecked car's frame matched hers exactly. Two identical cars. One buried in mud and silence, the other preserved in dust and time. It didn't make sense. Police started to suspect someone had replicated her car, moved evidence, staged scenes, and buried decoys to throw them off. The focus shifted back to Raymond Harlan, but finding him was impossible. His trail ended abruptly in 1997, a year after Emily's disappearance, when he stopped showing up to work and abandoned his rental home. Inside, they found old videotapes, university maps, and newspaper clippings about missing women dating back to 1993. One chilling discovery stood out: a storage unit receipt with the same number as Derek Hughes's auctioned locker. But Harlan's signature looked wrong. The handwriting was shaky, uneven, as if written by someone else pretending to be him. Some officers began to wonder if Harlan was even alive when the storage unit was rented, or if someone else had been covering up the truth all along. The deeper they dug, the more the case slipped into a maze of mirrors, where every lead pointed to another shadow, and Emily's voice from that cassette, trembling, desperate, still echoed like a warning no one had understood in time. Even after years of digging, no one could explain how Emily Carter's car resurfaced intact, or who placed it in that storage unit. The fingerprints, the handwriting, the timelines, none of it lined up. It was as if someone had rewritten history, piece by piece, just to keep her story buried. The case remains officially unsolved, but those who worked it still talk about the odd calls they received after the auction. Distorted voices, static, and someone whispering. She wasn't alone. Emily's mother finally stopped leaving the porch light on in 2010. Neighbors said she stood at the window that last night, watching the fog roll down the street, the same way it had the night her daughter disappeared. Somewhere out there, between that old highway and the quarry, lies the missing chapter of Emily's story. A truth that refuses to sleep even after everyone else has moved on. Sometimes, the narrator's voice fades low. The past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes it parks itself in a forgotten storage unit, waiting for someone brave enough to open the door.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.